Hello everyone, today we are going to discuss the problem My Calendar 1. Here we are given an input. If we go through it, what it is asking us to do, whenever the book input is getting called, there will be a respective set of start and end time as well, which represents the start and end time of a meeting. Here start is inclusive but end is exclusive. That means if a meeting is starting, if your start is 2 and your end is 7, that means your meeting will go on from 2 till 6, not 7. Okay, so now what it is saying, that for each call of book there will be a function that will be called, and in that function you will be given two values, that is start and end, which will represent the new start and end of your meeting, and you have to check whether there is an overlapping of the start and end with your previous values that you had. If it does, then we will return false, else we will return true. So we will check whether if I consider this meeting, then will it override with any of the other meetings that I previously had. If it does, then we'll return false, else we will return true. Okay, so I came up with some solution and it worked. And then I went online to check what all approaches people have used, and I realized that people are either using some hash sets, tree sets, hash map, some linked list, and all these solution BST, these solution people are using. So I thought, why not I share my approach with you guys, where you can see that I'm not using any other data structure. Like, it's pure just a game of if and else. I'm not using any sort of hash map. So I thought of sharing the solution with you. Okay, so before starting the question, I made a list of the possible scenarios that can come, and accordingly I wrote all the 4 if condition, and it worked. So before discussing on this condition, let me give you a brief overview of what we are doing. We have an array list with us, and we have initialized this array list when this my calendar gets called for the first time, which is in the very start. And every time, if I'm able to reach till this point, that means it's a valid one. I never returned false out of it. That means it's a valid start and end that I discovered. And I'll add this new start and end interval in my array, so that next time this could be used in the further evaluation of the new start and end. That can I use the start and end, where we will check whether it is overlapping with any of the other previous start and end that we had. Okay, let me quickly give you some diagram which will tell you that how these 4 conditions are working. So let me show you. Okay, so here, see what I'm saying. If there is any set, when I say set, that means this is the starting and end of some other set, right? Meeting of 0 represent the start, and meeting of 1 represent the end. So meeting of 0 and meeting of 1 will represent some old start and end. So I'll make sure that the new start that I get, if it lies within this already presented range, so we will return false. What does this mean? So let's suppose there was a meeting that is happening at 2, and there is a meeting is happening at 7, and now you got a new start and end time, that is 5, and your end is 11. So before starting itself, you can see that you will be overlapping, right? Your 5 will somewhere start from here. So what you're saying, if my new start that I'm getting, if it is in middle of the previous start and end, then return false. That's my first condition. Now let's talk about some other example where let's suppose your start was I'll say 1, and your end was 4. Okay, so here what will happen, although your start will pass, it will say no, I'm not in middle of anyone's range, so I'm okay. But the end that will go ahead till 4, right, that is in middle of somewhere, right? That is causing some issue, because for some other range this is overlapping, this end is overlapping. So I'm checking the same thing, that if end gets overlapped with any of the start and the end time of some previous meetings, then also return false. Fine. Now if this condition is, these 2 conditions are true, then we are sure that we as a start and the end are not overlapping with the old values. But what if you have your old start here and your old end here, and the new start and the end that you receive is something like this. Got it? Here what will happen? No, your start is not there in the middle of start and end or previous values. No, your end is also not there in the middle of any of the start and end. So you might return true, but actually it should return false, right? Because a meeting is already placed as in middle of this, and on top of this you are saying that you want to have a new meeting which will go from this to this. So let's suppose it was 10 to 50 that we want the meeting to be executed, but we already have a meeting from 20 to 30. Does that make sense? We already have a meeting from 20 to 30. Then we are saying, can we have a meeting which goes from 10 to 50? According to our first two condition, it will pass because our start and end is not in the middle of any previously executed meetings. So that's why I came up with next to if condition, where I'll check that if this is my start and this is my end, then there should not be any meeting start or old meeting start point. Meeting of 0 means some old meetings start point, right? There should not be any old meetings start point which lies in this range. If it does, then we will return false. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm checking that the old meeting start point should not come in middle of start and end. Fine. And the other condition is also similar, where I'm checking the old conditions or old intervals endpoint should also not come in this range. So that's what I'm doing. This is my end time of old meetings, and I'm checking it should not come into this new start and end that I'm getting. You might have asked that why did we had two different conditions? The start should have been enough. What if? Let me try to change the color if I can. Okay. What if we had a range? Let's suppose this is my starting point and this is my end point. Okay, and let me think of a condition. I think where just your start will cause the issue. I think one of these conditions should have been enough, because anyways if we consider that okay, any of your start and end is already there in this range, and then we are topping up with something else, that means it is coming in middle, and if it is coming in middle, then it is enough to check if my start and end have a meeting in middle which have already been executed. So I guess if we remove this if condition as well, then also this should work. Let me try, just give me a minute. Fine. So if we execute it now, this will work. What I'm saying is we do not need this other condition, because at the end of the day I'm checking that in a bigger chunk of start and end there should not be a smaller chunk which is already executed. So let me try to run it. Okay, let me try to submit it. Okay, correct. So at the end of the day what we are checking, that my start and end, if it is a very big start and end, there can be possibility that a smaller section of the start and end is already there. That's all we are checking, that this smaller, if there is any point where we can find that yes, a previous start and end is present in middle of our bigger picture of start and end, then that's an issue. That is an overlapping problem, right? So we will return false. That's all. So we discussed three conditions. Okay, we discussed three conditions. To make it a bit clearer, I'll have old start, new start, old end, new end. Okay, these all I have. So in the first condition what I'm checking, that if my old start and new start are at this point, my new start should not be somewhere in the middle. If it is, then we will return false. Similarly, I'm checking my new end should not be in middle of here. I'll return false. And in the end, I'm checking if my it is old end. And the third condition that I'm checking is if my old start and old end is somewhere here, then it can be possible that the next range that I get is a bigger one, where this is my new start, new end, and there is no overlapping at all in the corners, but it can be possible that a smaller chunk is visible at the middle. So for that we have this condition. So I hope this would have helped you. I'll provide this code in the comments as well. If we discuss about the time complexity, so each book function is traversing over all the meetings that we had till now. So if there are n meetings that we had till now, so the time complexity will be O of n. We are not using any other space, any other time or any other hash map or anything which can cause the time to get ahead of O of n. So that is a good time complexity. If we talk about the space complexity, then we are just using an array list to store the number of meetings that we had till now. So that will be O of n as well. So I hope this would have helped you. Thank you so much.